Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us bring more content like this and keeps the channel growing. Can you win a battle without lifting a sword? Can you conquer nations with silence, patience, and perception alone? That is the riddle of the art of war, written over 2,500 years ago, in a time when empires rose and fell under the weight of a single decision. This ancient Chinese manuscript by Sun Tzu is not just a book, it's a code of wisdom, psychology, deception, and power. And though it was born on the battlefield, its lessons echo far beyond it, into boardrooms, political arenas, relationships, and the inner war within ourselves. Let me take you back to the Eastern Zhou dynasty, to the spring and autumn period of Chinese history. The air was thick with the smoke of conflict. Dozens of feuding states, each vying for dominance, sent their generals and soldiers into endless clashes over land, pride, and survival. Out of this chaos stepped a man, calm, reserved, and razor-sharp in thought. Sun Tzu, a strategist, a philosopher, a mystic of warfare. While others spilled ink to document victories, he carved out a blueprint for understanding conflict itself. But here's what's fascinating. Sun Tzu wasn't obsessed with war. Quite the opposite. He viewed war as a last resort, a necessary evil to be conducted with clinical efficiency and total awareness. His goal wasn't destruction, it was preservation, control, harmony through understanding. Who was Sun Tzu? Sun Tzu, or Sun Wu, as some records refer to him, was likely born around 544 BCE in the state of Qi. Details of his life are shadowed in mystery, just like the strategies he later taught. But we do know that he eventually served King Helu of the state of Wu as a general and military advisor. His ideas were revolutionary for the time. Instead of rushing into battle with brute force and blind patriotism, Sun Tzu advocated for studying the terrain, the enemy's mindset, morale, the flow of time, and even the weather. He saw warfare as a system, a dance of shadows and light, of knowing when to strike, and, more importantly, when not to. His principles worked. With his strategies, the state of Wu achieved unprecedented military success. And then, like a ghost, Sun Tzu vanished from historical records. But his voice remained, and it came in the form of 13 chapters, each one a carefully honed blade of wisdom. These chapters make up the art of war, and together they form a complete doctrine on the philosophy of conflict. What makes the art of war so powerful? Because it isn't just about swords, armies, and battlefield formations. It's about perception, manipulation, timing, the psychology of power. It's about understanding both your enemy and yourself with such precision that victory becomes inevitable. One of Sun Tzu's most famous lines goes, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Think about that. How many conflicts in life, in business, in love, even within our own minds, could be avoided or won simply through understanding? Sun Tzu teaches us that strength doesn't lie in aggression. It lies in clarity. The general who waits patiently in silence, watches the terrain, senses the enemy's weakness, and then strikes only once, wins not just with might, but with grace. It is why, centuries later, generals like Napoleon studied Sun Tzu. Corporate giants like Steve Jobs and Jeff Bezos quoted him. Coaches, politicians, diplomats, and even pickup artists have found insight in his ancient lines, because the essence of the art of war is timeless: to win without fighting, is the ultimate victory. The mind. Let's make one thing clear. The art of war is not just for warriors. Today, more than ever, we live in a world of constant competition. The battlefield has changed. It's no longer blood and steel. It's negotiation tables, online markets, viral media, and the subtle wars of influence, branding, and public opinion. The soldier of the 21st century may wear a suit, not armor, and yet every day is still a battle for attention, for relevance, for peace, for love, for survival. And Sun Tzu predicted this. He wrote, "All warfare is based on deception." That applies as much to social media as it does to medieval combat. Appear weak when you are strong. Pretend to retreat, then lure your enemy in. Reveal nothing. Control everything. This book teaches strategic invisibility, the art of being so calculated and composed that the battle is won before it even begins. Listens. So why does a slim book of aphorisms, written in bamboo scrolls thousands of years ago, still find its way into military academies, tech startups, and even relationship therapy sessions? Because it tells us the truth. Life is full of battles. Not all of them are loud. Sometimes the loudest victories come from the quietest wisdom, from learning when to speak and when to remain still, from knowing how to shape perception and when to retreat so you can return stronger. The art of war is not a celebration of violence. It's a guide to mastering conflict through intelligence, patience, and discipline. And in a world that often rewards noise, Sun Tzu reminds us of the power of stillness. Warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Let that sink in. Sun Tzu flips our natural instinct on its head. Most people, when challenged, react. They push forward in anger, fear, pride, or desperation. But the master strategist, he waits. He prepares. He ensures the outcome before the battle even begins. It's the backbone of Sun Tzu's philosophy, preparation over reaction. When you truly understand your capabilities and your opponents, there's no need to gamble, no need for luck or heroism. Every move becomes a step in a dance that you choreographed from the start. Of victory, Sun Tzu outlines 5 key traits that determine whether someone will win or lose a conflict. These apply just as much to modern life as they did to ancient warfare. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Timing is everything. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every opportunity is worth the risk. The wise know when to act and when to stand still. Who knows how to handle both superior and inferior forces? In other words, adaptability. Can you change your strategy when the playing field shifts? The rigid break. The flexible survive. The army is animated by the same spirit throughout all its ranks. Unity. In a team, a company, a movement, alignment is power. When everyone moves toward the same vision, the group becomes unstoppable. Prepared himself, waits to take the enemy unprepared. Preparation again. The one who sees the storm coming can build shelter, while others still argue about whether it will rain. Military capacity, and is not interfered with by the sovereign. Freedom of execution. No plan works if it's crushed by ego, politics, or short-sighted leadership. The best leaders trust their strategists, and the best strategists know when to lead themselves. Deception. One of the most powerful and controversial ideas in the art of war is deception. Sun Tzu repeats it constantly. All warfare is based on deception, but this doesn't mean dishonesty for its own sake. It means controlling the narrative, bending perception. If you can shape how your opponent sees you, you can shape how they act. Modern world. In business, it's not always the best product that wins. It's the best positioned. In politics, it's not the most capable leader that prevails, but the one who appears strongest at the right moment. In relationships, misreading signals can lead to unnecessary conflict or missed connection. Sun Tzu's world isn't malicious, it's strategic. It's about creating the right illusion to protect your truth, your timing, and your victory. And of life. Sun Tzu devotes an entire section of the art of war to terrain, not just the literal geography, mountains, rivers, forests, but the context in which a conflict occurs. There are favorable terrains and dangerous ones, fast-moving rivers, choke points, open plains, swamps. Just like in war, life offers many types of terrain. The corporate jungle, full of hidden hierarchies and office politics. The social battlefield, where influence and attention decide your place. The emotional terrain of a conflict with someone you love. To study the terrain before moving. The general who marches blindly walks into traps. The wise observer, however, sees the lay of the land, the obstacles, the escape routes, and then chooses the path of least resistance. Strength, a matter of perception. Here's where Sun Tzu gets really deep. Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend. March swiftly to places where you are not expected. Field strategy. It's human behavior. Surprise, unpredictability, and exploiting expectations are timeless tools. Think about it. In chess, a feint or sacrifice can mask a powerful strategy. In negotiations, silence can be more intimidating than shouting. In arguments, calm composure often unravels the emotional attacker. Is that power lies in controlling contrast, knowing when to push, when to retreat, when to show strength, and when to mask it. To be fluid, elusive, impossible to trap. Because what is strength really? It's not bulk or noise, it's control, direct and indirect forces. Another stunning concept in the art of war is the difference between direct and indirect energy. In battle, there are only two kinds of attack, the direct and the indirect. Yet these two in combination give rise to an endless series of maneuvers. Of life, you don't just move forward like a pawn, you move like a knight in angles. You build patterns, layers, you set traps without being seen. Think of a job interview. The direct approach is your resume, your answers, your handshake. The indirect is your reputation, your online presence, the subtle confidence in how you carry yourself. The direct is your product. The indirect is your brand, how it makes people feel even before they try it. Victory, Sun Tzu says, comes from blending the obvious and the subtle, the hammer and the whisper, the seen and the unseen. There's a concept Sun Tzu returns to often. Speed is the soul of war. He writes, "Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Once the preparation is complete, strike, decisively, swiftly, without warning. It's not enough to have a good plan. You must act when the window opens. A delayed blow is a wasted opportunity. In our lives, this means sending the pitch when the client is most excited, speaking up in the meeting before the moment passes, ending a toxic relationship before it consumes your spirit. Opportunity favors the swift, not the reckless, but the ready. Example, not by force. Sun Tzu didn't see leadership as dominance. He saw it as responsibility, clarity, and self-control. The general to him was not just a warrior, but a mirror, a reflection of the entire army's discipline, morale, and fate. When the general is calm, the troops are steady. When the general is reckless, the troops scatter. When the general is wise, the war is already won. Iconic stories surrounding Sun Tzu. He was asked by King Helu of Wu to demonstrate his theories using the king's concubines as soldiers. Sun Tzu accepted. He divided the palace women into 2 groups, appointed 2 of the king's favorite concubines as commanders, and began instructing them. And women giggled and didn't take it seriously. Sun Tzu warned them, "When orders are unclear, it is the fault of the general. But when they are clear, and the soldiers still disobey, it is the fault of the officers." When they continued to laugh, he did something shocking. He executed the king's favorite concubines. But Sun Tzu simply replied, "When a general is appointed, he acts in the service of the state, not the personal whims of the sovereign." Cold? Yes. Harsh? Absolutely. But it illustrates a deeper point. True leadership is loyalty to principle over popularity. A recurring theme in the art of war is this: miscommunication destroys armies. If a leader's words are vague, or inconsistent, or overly emotional, confusion spreads like wildfire. Soldiers hesitate, doubt creeps in, morale collapses. And so Sun Tzu teaches that a good leader gives clear, simple instructions, ensures those instructions are understood, follows up with visible action and accountability. It's like programming. If the code is messy, the system crashes. But if the command is clean and precise, the entire machine flows. Whether you're leading a company, a family, or your own mind, clarity is your compass. Without it, even the best strategy falls apart, the invisible weapon. Sun Tzu emphasizes a factor that modern strategists still underestimate: morale. You can have the best weapons, the best numbers, and the best plan. But if your people don't believe in the fight, you've already lost. He says, "Treat your men as you would your own beloved sons, and they will follow you into the deepest valley." Care, trust. These are not soft values. They are the very foundation of lasting power. Today's equivalent? Teams that trust their leaders outperform those that operate in fear. Employees who feel respected work harder. Soldiers who believe in the cause fight longer. People who are inspired don't need to be forced. In a world that often rewards control through fear, Sun Tzu reminds us that empathy and honor forge stronger armies. Flexibility, water over stone, maintains no constant shape. So in warfare, there are no constant conditions. This is one of the most poetic and profound insights in the entire book. Sun Tzu urges us to be like water, shapeless, formless, adaptable. When water hits a rock, it doesn't break. It flows around. It finds another way. It wears down obstacles with patience, not resistance. Rigidity is death. The general who clings to a single plan becomes predictable, and predictable means vulnerable. Life constantly shifts. Markets crash. People change. Relationships evolve. The master strategist flows with those changes, adjusts, adapts, never panics. To lead well is to remain fluid in strategy, but firm in principle. Knowledge as power. One entire chapter of the art of war is dedicated to an often overlooked but vital aspect of war: espionage. Foreknowledge cannot be gotten from ghosts and spirits, nor by analogy, nor by calculation. It must be obtained from people who know the conditions of the enemy. Knowledge is the ultimate advantage. In modern terms, we'd call this intelligence, research, data. Whether in battle, business, or politics, success often hinges on what you know that others don't. This doesn't always mean shady backroom deals or corporate spying. It means listening carefully to competitors' strategies, studying market trends, understanding your opponent's psychology before engaging. Charge blindly. They uncover patterns, weaknesses, pressure points. They move not just with force, but with information. The war you don't see, internal conflict. While Sun Tzu wrote about war, his teachings resonate most deeply on an inner level, because some of the most brutal battles are not between armies, but within ourselves. Discipline and distraction, the conflict between emotion and logic, the war between who we are and who we wish to become. This can be read as a guide for inner mastery. Know yourself, master your mind, understand your tendencies, your patterns, your emotional terrain. Learn when to act and when to be still. Victory, in the deepest sense, begins not on the battlefield, but in the mirror, to your advantage. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. This single line could be the slogan for entrepreneurs, creatives, and visionaries throughout history. Sun Tzu teaches us to view disorder not as a threat, but as a window. When others panic, the clear mind finds clarity. When the old systems collapse, the prepared step forward. Revolutions happen. This is how new empires rise. In chaos, most people freeze, but the student of Sun Tzu sees the pattern, feels the shift in momentum, and strikes when the world isn't looking. No battle at all. And finally, Sun Tzu's most powerful and surprising lesson: to subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill. The highest level of mastery is not in bloodshed, but in neutralizing conflict before it begins. Through diplomacy, through understanding, through presence and precision. Isn't the one who wins wars, it's the one whose very presence prevents them. In this way, Sun Tzu is more than a strategist. He's a sage. He doesn't glorify war. He teaches us to end it, wisely, surgically, and if possible, without even drawing a blade. There is a real advantage to be gained. Fight only if the position is critical. Sun Tzu didn't believe in conflict for its own sake. He saw war as a last resort, not an expression of ego, but a calculated step, taken only when all other paths had closed. This idea is central to his concept of momentum, or Shi in classical Chinese, is the invisible tide of advantage. It's the art of building pressure silently until victory becomes inevitable. You don't force success. You set the conditions for success and let it come to you. Sun Tzu says, the clever combatant looks to the effect of combined energy and does not require too much from individuals. Without leverage, he compares it to rolling logs or boulders downhill. You don't need strength, you need angle and timing. This means you don't chase every opportunity. You build systems so opportunities come to you. You don't work harder at the wrong task. You apply your energy where it multiplies. Force. You win by arranging the battlefield in your favor, slowly, patiently, until the enemy finds themselves cornered by your foresight. Visible force, the unseen current beneath the surface. When you feel it, write it. When you lose it, step back and rebuild. Timing. Sun Tzu makes a powerful distinction between form and timing. The victorious army first seeks victory, then fights. The defeated army fights first and then seeks victory. Before they're ready, they take the shot before aiming. They launch without preparing. They mistake motion for progress. Sun Tzu's way is different. Victory begins before the first move in shaping conditions. You soften the enemy. You study the terrain. You gather information. You control the flow. Then, at the moment when all the lines converge, you strike. Courts, negotiations, even relationships. You don't overpower, you align. And when everything lines up, you win with minimal effort. And surprise, another key principle from the art of war, concentration of force. An army may march great distances without distress if it marches through country where the enemy is not. Don't fight head-on when you can flank. Don't attack where your opponent is strongest. Find the gap and pour all your strength into it. This applies far beyond warfare. Focus on the underserved market, not the saturated one. In social movements, spark change where resistance is low but visibility is high. In personal development, don't try to fix everything. Master one area and let that confidence ripple outward. Surprise. In showing up where you're least expected. In hiding your true intent until it's too late to stop you. Surprise is most effective when paired with silence. You don't need to announce your plans. You need to position them. Sun Tzu writes, "In the midst of confusion and chaos, your array must be ordered. In the midst of tumult, your heart must be calm." Paradox. Command serenity in the storm. To an outsider, a well-executed strategy often looks effortless, even chaotic. But beneath the surface lies structure, rhythm, foresight. This mirrors the most effective minds, but only after years of technique. The negotiator who adapts mid-conversation, but only after studying psychology. The leader who stays calm under fire because they've rehearsed that moment 100 times in their mind. Enemy, it's your camouflage. Let others panic while you move with calm purpose beneath the noise. Prolonged conflict. Sun Tzu warns that no matter how skilled a general may be, a prolonged war drains strength and spirit. There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare. Morale fades, attention scatters. This lesson applies well beyond military campaigns. Long, drawn-out battles, in business, in court, in toxic relationships, can drain you more than any defeat. Victory delayed too long becomes hollow. Advises us, win quickly, or don't fight at all. Don't waste your energy proving something to someone who's not listening. Don't linger in conflicts that no longer serve you. Be swift, be decisive, be free. Command. Another critical idea, singleness of purpose. When orders are consistent from the general down to the troops, the army is invincible. Messages, chaos reigns. In a mind with contradictory goals, paralysis sets in. Of moving in one clear direction cannot be overstated. You've seen it, with a razor-sharp mission that outpaces giants. The activist movement with one chant that echoes around the world. The focused individual who moves faster than the distracted genius. Momentum. Clarity unlocks energy. When you know what you want, everything else organizes around it. Commitment over hesitation. One of the most dramatic moments in military history is echoed in Sun Tzu's strategy: remove the possibility of retreat. On deadly ground, they will survive. When you leave no way of escape, they will stand firm. But when all exit routes are closed, when there is no option but victory, people discover power they didn't know they had. In life, this is the leap of no return. Build the business, ending the unhealthy relationship for good, saying yes to a challenge that terrifies you. When we cannot turn back, that we begin to truly fight. Sun Tzu's point is simple. True commitment ignites unmatched power. Sun Tzu also writes about something many overlook: the emotional balance of an army. He says, as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Regard them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you unto death. It's love, disciplined, mutual, respectful. An army that moves in harmony is unstoppable, not because it's larger or louder, but because every part is tuned to the same frequency. This harmony can be found in teams where everyone plays to their strengths, families built on respect, not fear, minds where thoughts, emotions, and actions support each other, rather than sabotage. Level of strategy, inner alignment, and once you have it, no external battle can shake you, based on deception. But here's the twist: the greatest battlefield isn't always in valleys or on maps. It's in our minds, our relationships, our ambitions, and the art of war, despite its title, is ultimately a guide to mastering life itself. Has lasted for over 2,000 years, not because we're still waging wars with spears and horses, but because his truths apply to every realm where strategy matters: in politics, in personal growth, in navigating the invisible wars of everyday life. Art of war continues to shape the world, and how you can apply it right now. The boardroom and beyond. Sun Tzu writes, "Victorious warriors win first and then go to war. Defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win." Become the backbone of competitive thinking in the modern world. CEOs, investors, athletes, and negotiators cite the art of war as a core influence. Why? Because the battlefield has moved. Today it's about it instead of reacting to it, building leverage before making a bold move, understanding your opponent's psychology before sitting at the table. Every pitch, every product launch is a strategic engagement. Those who plan with clarity win. Those who rush fail as strategy. One of Sun Tzu's most powerful yet subtle teachings is this: if your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Pretend to be weak, that he may grow arrogant. It's about emotional awareness, understanding how moods, tempers, and ego affect decisions. In your life, have you ever struck because they let pride make their decisions, held your tongue and won more with silence than you ever could with force, calmed your mind while others panicked, and came out ahead? At work, emotional mastery is not softness, it's strength in disguise. The calm strategist watches the storm and waits for their moment. The highest victory. Let's return to one of Sun Tzu's most revolutionary ideas. To win without fighting is the highest form of victory. Upside down, we're taught to fight, to win, to dominate. But Sun Tzu says the greatest victory leaves no scars. Relationships, where a well-timed apology prevents a year of resentment. Business, where a merger creates more value than a takeover ever could. Nations, where diplomacy averts bloodshed. Weakness, It's higher mastery. It's asking, what is the real goal? If it's peace, why fight? If it's growth, why burn bridges? This is the rarest kind of strength, the wisdom to not need war. Know the terrain, know the enemy, and know yourself, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. In part, know yourself. You can study markets, analyze competitors, calculate odds, but if you don't understand your own habits, fears, limits, and blind spots, you'll lose before the first move. Foundation of all victory, and it's also the hardest thing to attain. What triggers make me act irrationally? What kind of battles do I keep fighting over and over, and why? It isn't just strategy, it's self-inquiry. The deeper you look inward, the more powerful you become outward. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. Stillness. In a world that moves fast, reacts fast, and burns out fast, the one who waits, the one who watches, the one who plans in silence, holds the most power. Silent until the winning move. The artist who disappears, then returns with a masterpiece. The investor who waits for the storm and buys when others flee. It's strategic patience. Stillness is where clarity sharpens, where vision matures. And when you do act, it's precise, sudden, overwhelming. Sun Tzu said, all warfare is based on deception, even unethical. But let's look deeper. It's not about lies, it's about control of perception. It's about knowing how you appear to others and using that awareness to your advantage. This might look like under-promising, then over-delivering, while others overexpose their plans, allowing your competitor to underestimate you, and then outperforming them when it counts. 3. It's about strategic humility. You don't need to be seen as powerful. You only need to be powerful when it matters. One of Sun Tzu's most practical lessons is also one of his most ignored. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Self in every battle. Some arguments aren't worth having. Some critics aren't worth answering. Some fights are designed to drain you, not defeat you. Asking, will this move me forward? Is this worth my energy? What happens even if I win? And is it a win that matters? Tzu is not just a general. He is a philosopher of efficiency. He teaches us to spend our power wisely, not waste it to soothe our ego. Of the art of war. Why does the art of war still matter after over 2,000 years? Because at its core, it isn't about war at all. Through the world with intention. It's about how to win with minimal loss. It's about how to lead, learn, and live with clarity. It wasn't his military genius. It was his ability to read the deeper nature of people, of pressure, of perception, of power, and in a world more connected and more conflicted than ever before, these lessons aren't just relevant, they're essential. The inner empire. If there is one empire worth building, it's not one of land or currency, but of self-command. When to wait, when to speak, when to disappear, when to surrender, and when to strike like thunder. Just a guide to winning. It is a guide to understanding, and that is the kind of victory no one can ever take from you. If this video brought you value, hit that like button and subscribe. That's the best way to support what we do.